at that moment.
So here's the seed. Let's plant it and germinate it right now. You're 17. You're growing up in the Brewster housing projects in Detroit. Was that the dream, like to be in a super group? Mary Wilson in a super group, television appearances, records selling to the top of the charts, millions of records, touring the world over. Was that the dream, or was that so far in front that's not
Yes.
what you saw?
It wasn't the dream. No, it was just as I was saying earlier. It was when I met Florence and Diane and Betty, I met the other parts of me. I met my life. I met who I am today. I mean, they made me who I am today.
So would you say that there comes a point in time where life meets you, you meet life,
and you
and that's
become
where you become, that's where you find yourself, or you
Yeah,
first set
it's
out to be your own. And for you, that was
that
when it
was
was.
it. And it's like a crossroads where you actually should be conscious. I think a lot of people, a lot of us, when we come to those crossroads in life, we're not conscious of it. We're not aware, or maybe we're not ready. You know, I'm certain I've been there many times, and I wasn't ready, so I didn't choose. I just sort of followed. You know, if I was scared, I just kind of followed here, and perhaps missed a certain crossing that I could have taken or should have or whatever. Um, and so it was for me. That was the point where I didn't dream about becoming a star then, because see, we're talking about a time when for Black people, we weren't even citizens in 1959, not legitimate
Unfortunately,
citizens.
but right.
So that didn't happen until 1964. So when I met Florence, Diane, and Betty, for me it was just this miracle that I was talking about of seeing my life. Well, wow, this is it. I mean, I knew then that that's what I wanted to do for life.
And as peers, colleagues, people you knew as friends, speak to that. Tell me about Florence and Diana.
Well, as I said, when I met them, it was like meeting the part of me that I wasn't aware of, but I could see that they made me whole. Florence and Diane made me
They
whole.
completed you.
They completed me. They made me whole, and I could see that. That was one time in the crossroads where I said, "Whoa, okay, yeah, click, that's it." And I made this conscious decision that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and with them. I mean, they were a part of it. It wasn't just me; it was them.
So just for a moment, let's fast forward, because we're going to go back again, but just let's fast forward for a moment. In the rear view mirror of your mind, as we sit here today, Litch, Mary Wilson, you look in the rear view mirror of your mind. Where do you place the Supremes in the spectrum of music history?
Well, one thing, the Supremes in musical history, I think, could not be without Motown, could not be without Holland Dozier Holland, could not be without Berry Gordy. We were perhaps, in fact, I'll tell you this, most of the other groups at Motown or artists at Motown had hit records already. We were like the last to have a hit record. But what I think something about us as human beings, something about us put us as in front to be the vehicle for everyone else to come through a certain door, although they were already stars. I mean, in fact, when we became famous, many of the groups at Motown didn't want us to be the star of the Motown Review, because we had always been the ones to open the show, not to close it. They were like, "How can the Supremes close the show? We're the stars." You know, people like the Miracles and Marvin, and this was all in great fun because we were very, very close. But still, we were not supposed to be closing the show because we didn't have a hit until the last moment.
But not to take the spotlight off of the Marvin Gayes of the world and the Stevie Wonders, the Temptations. But, you know, when you think about where Elvis is in the timeline of music history and the Beatles, we're not talking about the Motown sound now. We're talking about the Supremes. So it's okay to kind of pound your chest and gloat a little bit. Where would you put them?
Well, I say that only to put it in the right perspective in terms of what we came out of, because we
completely
did come
understand.
out of a corral of people, and that corral of people was actually had a sound, the Motown sound, and so I think what happened was we were the group that was able to take that Motown sound and to broaden it to everyone so that it became everyone in the world could identify with it without
Absolutely.
you know.
No
so
doubt.
and by the same token, I don't know how to actually say this, but by the same token, we kind of opened doors in nightclubs. We kind of paved the way. Let's pave the way. Even though people had been before us and been great before us, there was something about our persona, that helped to raise that Motown sound and said, okay, we're the Pied Pipers. Follow us through.
Some people would say, when we first signed our first record deal, when we first put pen to paper, some people would say the first time we saw our first single come out. Others might answer with the first time we had a #1 hit single. When was it for Mary Wilson that you said, yeah, we made it?
We, the Supremes, I believe, were kind of like the model. We were a model at that point, and we were able to take whatever people had done before us, the Sammy Davises, all the people, the pioneers before us. We were able to open that door and said, okay, now come through. So it wasn't so much our talent, I don't think, that was there. I think it was more of the persona.
Perhaps it's everything coming together in concert.
And yes, and the time. So I think that that's our legacy, that we were the beacon that said, okay, open up, even though it had been knocked on many, many, many times before us.
Right, you were the first ones to go through the threshold.
Yes.
12 #1 hit singles. Not necessarily speaking to those. If you so choose, that's fine. But of all the Supreme songs, the one that speaks to you the most would be what?
It's always been very difficult for me to choose one. Holland Dozier Holland, and I should clarify that too, because when Berry Gordy said that he was going to put us with the writing team of Holland Dozier Holland, which is Eddie and Brian Holland and Lamont Dozier,
Correct.
We were thrilled because they were the hit makers. And we had about 11 records out prior to our first hit records. And so we knew when we first met each other that we were great. And so you asked me about the moment when I found out that we had made it. Well, for us, the moment we met signified to me that we were great. So it wasn't about a record or anything like that. I knew we were great, period. That's just the way I felt.
Right here.
Yes. So it was just a matter of time. Now, when that time didn't come after 11 records, it was frustrating. So Berry Gordy put us with Holland Dozier Holland and said, okay, I believe in you girls, and these guys will come up with a hit. And they did. They came up with Where Did Our Love Go? Well, I hated the record. And I don't think that Diane nor Florence liked it either, because we wanted something soulful like Martha and the Vandellas. We wanted the Heat Waves. We wanted, we want some soul.
I know what you mean.
We just weren't soulful. What can I say? Not like that. And so anyway, I went to Eddie Holland, and I was kind of like the spokesperson. I was the person who really anyway, so I told Eddie, I said, Eddie, we're serious. Our parents want to send us to college. We don't want to go to college. We want to stay. This is what we choose for our career. And so we got to make good, because our parents are going to make us go to college or take us away or whatever. We can't, And I pleaded and I cried, and he says, Mary, trust me, this is a smash. That's what they talked back then, and so I couldn't change his mind, and we weren't big enough to demand that we get another record. Little did we know that they had also given that record to the Marvelettes, who turned it down. So anyway, we recorded the record. It became a hit while we were on the Dick Clark tour. And this was the moment that you asked me about when I knew that we had made it. We were on the Dick Clark tour, and we were on there with the Shirelles, the Drifters, and Brenda Holloway, and some other people, Crystals, I believe. And so 3 months, we were on the tour for 3 months. We started out being Gene Pitney, Shirelles, Drifters, and others. And so we were the and others. No one knew who we were.
You see right in small print.
No
right
one knew who we were, right? And so, in fact, I understand that someone at Motown had actually begged the Dick Clark people to take us on the tour, saying they're going to have a hit record. Just this is going to be a smash. The record became a hit while we were on that tour. And so one night they were saying, "Here they are, ladies and gentlemen, the Supremes," and you know, da 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 da. And then some other few nights later, it got louder and got louder. Then one night it was like, "Yeah!" All this noise, right? And so we thought maybe Gene Pitney had stuck his head out the curtain because he was a big star on the show at that time. And it was for us.
The dream was realized.
We looked at each other and like, wow, this is it.
The dream was realized.
And I hated the song. I still don't like the song. But that was the moment I knew that we had made it.
Most cherished moment for you in all of this illustrious career would be what?
Meeting Florence and Diane and Betty and Barbara.
Really?
Yeah, meeting, the first meeting. I mean, it's like love. I mean, you know, after the first time, it's never as good.
Oh yeah, it is, honey. That's how you got to keep stoking that fire. You know what I'm saying? It's got to get better as time goes on.
It's something about here. It's something about here. Something here. It never tops that first time.
What's made your life rich?
My children. My children have made my life very, very rich. But my friendships as well. And not all good friendships either. Not all good. Some of the friendships that have not been as loving have really made me a much wiser person.
Any mountain left to climb? Lastly?
Let me see. I still would love to do Broadway. I would love to have a record. See, I mean, all these things are all things I've always wanted.
We want to know.
And I would probably like to have a wonderful companion in my life. I don't say marriage. I've done that.
Life partner.
Yeah, but a fun. I'd like to have a friend, a really loving friend.
Well, you made a friend here today.
Okay.
Mary Wilson, thank you so
Thank
much. You
you.
are charming, and I cannot thank you enough for doing this.
It's over?
I'd like to keep going. We could do a part two. And I got to tell you
Golly.
something. I'm glad we finally did get to work this out.
Wow.
And you have been most gracious and
Thank
most
you.
generous with your time. And thank you so much for doing this. I
Okay,
appreciate this.
thanks.
Continued greatest amount of success. And in August with the Stamps at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame out in Cleveland.
Good. Thank
Thanks.
you.